Great question. This is going to align. So this is perfect. So I'm going to show you how you can use Dropsmart to really, really leverage on this, and how then you can see if it's useful to put, for example, a pine, or to blend a eucalyptus and rosemary. And this is where Dropsmart really shines. So it's perfect, actually, Claudia. This is exactly what I wanted to kind of go on. But then I'm going to use your example. You said eucalyptus globulus, probably, right?
Yeah, globulus, yes.
And then rosemary and black pepper. So we're gonna take a look at those three, and then I'll show you from there how you can see if it makes sense to even blend this oil. What I wanted to show you, and the second is you said thyme and conifers. Does it make sense to add it or not? So perfect. So we're completely aligned.
Okay.
I will first compare these oils that you chose. Okay, so we're gonna look at black pepper. Did I spell it right? Wrong. I'm missing the L.
Yeah, black.
Okay, so I'm going to put it to comparison. And right away, you can see, I love that you chose black pepper because it's so cool. This one, for example, is missing a middle note, and you can see right away, because these monoterpenes mean it's a high note, and these sesquiterpenes means it's more of a lower note. So it's such a cool oil because you don't know where to put it. Is it a high note, and then it ends up being in the middle note, and it actually doesn't have the middle note. So this is really, I like black pepper. It's so interesting. So I'm going to add it to comparison, and then
where is the comparison? Where is
So you have this tool. This is when you put it into favorites. So these are, for example, oils that you use frequently, and they will be in this little heart here. This is the blend,
okay.
And this is the comparison. So what I always do first is compare oils. And I'm guessing that you are, well, we can use any rosemary, but this one is not chemotyped in the original. I will not go into chemotypes today. And eucalyptus globulus. So let's take like this one, for example. Okay, but before we compare, you can also search. You said sinuses, right?
Yeah.
You can also search for oils. So you can search for sinuses and get ideas here. Okay, so one I like is myrtle because it's such a beautiful blend already. So see an oil like myrtle, I take a look at this one, and I think anything I add to this oil will dilute it. So this is a kind of an oil that I would not blend with. Whereas oregano is boring in its chemistry, so you might want to blend that one, or your eucalyptus. Yeah. And you can see now when we compare these oils.
Oh, okay.
And here you can compare and see if it makes sense. So you can see right away that rosemary is already like a little blend, right? So this is the kind of approach to blending I would like to share with people. I see that people think just because it's one oil, it's very singular, but one oil can already be like a little blend. And if I add, for example, eucalyptus globulus to rosemary, it will dilute it. It doesn't make sense because all of this yellow here is 1,8 cineol, and I already have it here. So do you see that this doesn't really make sense to put it together? Because these monoterpenes I already have here, and this cineol I have here, so it does not really make sense to blend eucalyptus globulus and rosemary.
Interesting.
Yes, and if you don't look at it from that point of view, you will never, ever come to that conclusion. And what you're really doing is diluting your rosemary when you add eucalyptus globulus to it. It's like really not useful. Even blending black pepper and eucalyptus globulus, you see, you're just working on ratios. We got to see which monoterpenes these are. This I know is 1,8 cineol, so I can tell you right away. So again, is it useful to put black pepper and rosemary? I'm not sure. We got to take a look at, do they overlap, you know? That's my approach. I think it's very beneficial not to add stuff that's already in there. Adding lavender, for example, might make sense because we don't have the esters. But see, here we can then take a look at it more specifically. So the monoterpenes that are in our rosemary are alpha-pinene. So are we repeating? See, so you can see here, this one, it is represented, but smaller. And then you can see with, compared to eucalyptus globulus, are we really repeating the same constituents or not? Are we actually getting something in that is not there? You know, are we boosting this or are we just repeating the same? So with black pepper, the real question is, are the sesquiterpenes the same ones? So here you can take a look. They're very similar, see? Beta-caryophyllene, and it's both dominating actually. So I wouldn't blend black pepper in my opinion, and you can make your own. But if you take a look a little bit, and that's why I love the comparison tool, because it can quickly show you. I have the main constituents in black pepper in rosemary, and I have the main constituents of eucalyptus globulus in rosemary. So I would not mix that because it doesn't make sense for me, you know? I would not put anything in there that I already have in rosemary. So,
or not use black pepper then.
but the other two, so now I'm going to keep this one so that you can, and I'm gonna, so that we can come back to this. And if we look for, like you said, sinuses,
Yeah.
do you see how it would make more sense to blend something like with, if you want to add something?
Yeah, thyme, the one that I like.
Would make more sense.
Thyme.
Then we get the, then we would get the phenols. But another thing you got to ask yourself is, do I need to blend the rosemary? You know, is it already complete enough? Will it be too many things? Maybe you want to keep it simple. So maybe rosemary is not really appropriate. Also be careful with rosemary and high blood pressure, you know? So it might not, so that's another thing. Do you, with these oils that are so beautiful in their
they're colorful
variety, yeah, and here you can see the color, does it make sense to blend them? Maybe if you know, and the beauty of eucalyptus globulus and black pepper is that it's easier to control. I know that eucalyptus globulus is like 75% 1,8-cineol, so I know exactly what I'm getting when I'm using it. And it's so much easier to blend eucalyptus globulus than the rosemary. Because whatever I blend with rosemary, it just becomes, it's just so many things that are already happening there. So I like both of them, you know, but just ask yourself, does it make sense to blend rosemary? What would you actually add to a rosemary that would add to the effect, you know? But here, the other two that you like is thyme.
I love thyme.
But thymes, you gotta know, thyme, you gotta be more specific, you know? Thyme, you have different.
I think what I like, thyme CT linalool.
Linalool, yes. Okay, so this one, so now that's a chemotype. So this is Thymus vulgaris, okay? So you have more of those, and then you have the chemotype. And this one is interesting because if we take a look at that one, you will see that it has a lot of linalool. I mean, that's why it's called thyme linalool. Okay, so you will see that all of this is actually a linalool. Not all of it. Oh, and terpene for all. That's wonderful. Terpene for all is a great thing to add for infections. So that would make sense to blend with your rosemary. Do you get it? The idea of smart blending? It would make sense.
Yeah.
Even if we look at this, let me scroll all the way down back to my favorite chemistry. If you look at the alcohols here, they are different they have a little bit of it's different alcohol. So even though you're repeating the functional group, you're not repeating the chemical components about. You're really boosting then the rosemary, you know? You're making a difference. So actually, you blending just rosemary and thyme linalool is going to give you such a more powerful effect than if you would blend the 4 oils. If you would blend black pepper, rosemary, eucalyptus, globulus, and thyme. And this is what people don't understand now. And I'm so happy that all of you, like most of you, are teaching and you can share this. No, actually, if you were to blend these 3 together, you wouldn't really, you would just blend for the sake of blending. Amy, go ahead. Just ask me. It's just the 3 of us. Or
Well, I was just gonna actually say when you a while ago you had done a presentation about the blending and stuff, and something that really, it was kind of like this aha moment for me because I'm also a hairstylist. So when I'm mixing color and I take 20 volume and 0 volume, I get 10 volume. And I think like early on in my aromatherapy life, like 20 years ago, I thought like taking and adding like to rosemary and eucalyptus and all that, like you would get an amplified effect. And then whenever you said like if you had like 42% linalool and you mix it, like I actually played around afterwards. I took spike lavender and lavandula and gustivolia and mixed them together in the Dropsmart app. And it was so amazing to see how like the 42% became 20% just because you were taking like no or very little linalool and spike lavender and mixing it. So I think that was like what you're saying here. Like when you said it that way, it was so helpful to me because it was just like, oh, that makes so much more sense now because it's like, yeah. And I think that's what, like, when you're saying about the rosemary, like taking, like you look at them, like I'm just taking the top, like the monoterpene alcohols, like if you take like the, I don't know, if you take like the percentage and you mix it, then you actually are diluting
it. Yes, and that's why the blending tool is so cool because it can help you out in that to see if you're actually raising the percentage or you're lowering. So what Claudia can also take a look at is which of these components are the ones that are bringing to the effect that she wants. And it is 1,8-cineol that you want for a respiratory condition. It is some of the pinenes here. Linalool, I'm not so sure if it's great for as antibacterial, but I don't know if it's really for the respiratory system. But one thing you do have is a lot of terpene for all, which is interesting also. So that's a really great point to show people that actually just using 2 oils, but the 2 that you are understanding what's happening in here, you're going to have a better effect and you're going to use less oils. I mean, we love the oils, but, you know, being mindful of that. And so you understand now how and thyme linalool is such a great choice because it has less of these safety concern as well. So if you would use thymol, for example, it would also bring that thymol in there, but it has then safety concerns that might not be as easy to use as with the linalool. And then conifers, I really want to show you this one. And the easiest way to do it is to filter here through plant part, actually. And you just click needles. Where is it? Needles. And sometimes branches, and sometimes you have the cone. So this is the easiest way to look for conifers, actually. You just look at which part is distilled. So sometimes that's the fastest way to look at what it is that you're searching for. You might want to search for roots, and then it's easier to just look at the plant part than writing it in the search filter. So here we have, well, more than conifers, but the trend you're going to see is that they're very similar. That's what I wanted to show you. See, they all have a lot of monoterpenes. And with conifers, it's usually about the ratio of the monoterpenes. So you don't want to be, unless it's for the smell, I don't suggest you putting, it's the one thing that you can see when people don't know what they're doing when they're blending is when they have like 5 conifers in there for respiratory system. It's like, so wasteful. So you don't want to be putting, Douglas fir and dwarf pine and Norway spruce all in the same blend. And that's really what you want to do is have this beautiful smell of forest. Then okay, that makes sense. But if you're doing it to amplify the respiratory effect, you're not really doing it. Because just choose one. Which one do you like? Let's go for dwarf pine, maybe. So that one has the most research.
Norway.
Which one did you like?
Dwarf, or
this one.
Norway spruce. Yeah.
Okay. If you look at that one, and that's another reason I love conifers. It's because they are easy to work with. It's like pretty much all monoterpenes, so it's quite predictable. See, it's usually these two that you'll see at the top of the list, alpha and beta-pinene, in most of the conifers. And then there's a bit of limonene. Sometimes it's surprising, and these come also. But your main constituents are these ones that are going to come. And then let me show you, you have that in all of these. So again, do you really want to blend it? Maybe, your choice. But if you look at the monoterpenes, alpha-pinene, see, all of them have, even your eucalyptus and beta-pinene less here. But maybe you want to boost up a little bit of that, or you just want to use it for the smell. But the thing is, to be clear, I don't mind people blending 10 conifers if they're aware that what they're doing is it's because of the smell they like. So you might want to put a conifer there because your husband likes it. And that's a fine argument for me. But just that you are clear that you are not going to be adding much as in pungency for respiratory system in a rosemary. What you might be doing with, if you blend it with a eucalyptus globulus, is having more monoterpenes versus the 1,8 cineal. So you might want to be balancing that out. And that might be your intention, that you don't want this much of 1,8 cineal. You want more pinenes in here, because it's not such a large percentage. So you see, is this making sense now, how to go about? This is exactly what I wanted to show you, looking at an essential oil as a blend. So rosemary, for me, it's quite a blend. It also has all 3 notes in here. It's just such a wonderful representation of an oil that has everything. So here you have a high note, a low note, a middle note, something in betweenish. So it has like everything. With eucalyptus globulus, I love it because it's like 75% on the same constituent. So it's so easy to predict how it's going to work on you. So it's easy to blend. But this one is one I like to blend. Definitely want to blend that one. Black pepper, although it has 2 major groups, both sesquiterpenes and monoterpenes are like a little blend again. But it's missing a middle note. So I would definitely, black pepper, from that point of view, I would like to blend it with something to make it more round. It's very pointy. And I love your idea of thyme linalool. It's such an interesting option that I don't think about, but you do. And that would blend well with any of these, in my opinion, as in adding to what they're missing, but questionable smell-wise, though, because it's such a different smell. Another thing to look at, smell-wise, is they have to connect to something so that the smell is smooth. So here it will connect with those monoterpenes. Otherwise, it's just like a linalool here, and then we have 1,8 cineal here, and nothing to make the blend kind of come together. So it's good to always have one piece that connects you to the next oil. So with rosemary or any of those, it will be the monoterpenes. That's going to nicely kind of fit in the thyme. Does that make sense? We got a whole lesson today. So thank you so much and have a beautiful rest of Saturday.
Thank you. Thank you both so